Hello, I'm Steve Weber, the host of Beatles Rewind. As always, I'm joined by my co-host and fellow Beatle maniac, my confidant Cassandra. Good morning, Cass.
Hi, Steve. So we're going to talk about accents today, right?
Yes, we're going to talk about speaking accents and, of course, singing accents.
Do you think I have an accent, Steve?
Nope, not at all. What about me?
Well, sure, Steve. I mean, you great up in West Virginia. It would be unnatural for you not to have an accent.
Thanks, Cass. Okay, let's get into our topic for today, the Beatles and their accents.
Okay, go ahead. You start.
Right. So we're jumping right into something I think a lot of people notice, maybe without even fully clocking it. It's this weird linguistic thing that happens with the Beatles.
Mm-hmm. You hear them talk, right, in interviews.
Yeah, exactly. Four lads from Liverpool.
Yeah.
And their accents are, well, they're strong.
Oh, absolutely. Proper, thick, working-class Scouse accents. You can't mistake it. It's very, very specific to Liverpool.
And back then, especially, that kind of regional sound wasn't exactly mainstream, was it? The BBC certainly thought it was a bit.
A bit rough, yeah. That's putting it mildly sometimes. It marked you, geographically and socially.
Okay, so that's how they spoke.
Mm-hmm.
But then they opened their mouths to sing.
And poof, it's gone. Almost entirely.
Right. The Scouse vanishes. That really British sound, you know, the way they'd say certain vowels, it just smooths out.
It becomes this, well, universal pop voice, almost accent neutral, or, and this is a kicker.
It sounds American.
Yeah.
Or at least American influenced.
Exactly. That contrast is pretty striking. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? About authenticity, about what sells in pop music, especially back in the 60s.
Yeah, like were they putting on an act? What was going on? You'd listen to something like, She Loves You, or I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Yeah, the pronunciation is so clean, so non-regional. It's designed for maximum appeal, you could say. London, New York, didn't matter. Everyone got it.
And it seems like they knew exactly what they were doing. It wasn't just
Really?
accidental.
Oh, definitely not accidental. And we have pretty great proof of that, actually, from the Beatles themselves.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, cast your mind back to February 1964, their first U.S. trip. Huge deal.
The arrival at JFK Pandemonium.
Total chaos. And they have that first big press conference, loads of questions, shouting.
Standard stuff for them by then, probably.
Sure, but one reporter actually cuts through the noise and asks the question, the really direct one.
Which was?
Basically, why do you guys talk like you're from Britain but sing like you're from America? He just laid it out there.
Huh. Brilliant.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room.
Exactly. And who steps up? John Lennon, of course.
Always ready with a quip.
And this one was classic Lennon. Witty, maybe a bit cynical, but just brutally honest about the music business. No messing around.
So what did he say?
His answer was incredibly simple. He just said, because it sells better.
Wow. Straight up.
Yep. Just like that. Because it sells better. And, I mean, that quote just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it?
It really does. The commercial reality. They knew the game.
They absolutely knew. They were aiming for the world. And back then, the biggest market, the place you had to crack, was America.
So sounding American, or at least not distinctly British, was key to that.
It was the language of rock and roll, musically speaking. You had to sound like you belonged.
Okay, but hang on. Was it only about the money? Just a cynical calculation. That feels a bit too simple, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Lennon's quote is great. It captures the commercial awareness, but there's definitely a deeper, more musical reason behind it, too.
Okay, let's unpack that then.
Well, you have to think about how the Beatles and basically all those early British rock bands learned their craft. Where did the music come from?
American records, right. They were importing them, listening obsessively.
Exactly. They were total fanatics for American music.
Yeah.
Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly.
All pioneers.
And crucially, Black American R&B artists, too. That was the wellspring. That was the sound that defined rock and roll for them.
So they weren't just listening, they were copying, learning the licks, the feel.
And the sound. When they were starting out, playing covers for hours in places like the Cavern Club.
Yeah.
They were trying to sound exactly like those records. When they sang Twist and Shout, they were trying to channel the Isley Brothers via Little Richard. When they did roll over Beethoven, they were being Chuck Berry.
So singing with that American-ish accent wasn't really putting something on. It was more like that's just how the music sounded to them.
Precisely. It was baked into the genre itself. It was how they genuinely understood the music should be performed. It was mimicry, but in an artistic sense.
That makes a lot more sense. The style dictated the sound.
Right. And we can even get a bit technical. Think about the Scouse accent.
Yeah.
It's non-rhotic. They wouldn't pronounce the R sound at the end of words like car or bar.
Right, like ka.
Yeah. And some vowels are very different. When they sang, they often adopted that American erotic R, hitting the R in girl or whirl.
And flattening vowels, maybe? Like
Mm,
in can't or dance?
yeah. Exactly. Moving away from the British ah sound towards the American ah, it instantly makes it sound less specific to Liverpool, more transatlantic.
So singing I Saw Her Standing There with hard R's makes it global pop, not just a Liverpool song.
That's a perfect example. If they'd sung it with pure Scouse accents, it would have sounded, well, regional, maybe even novelty to American ears at the time. The Americanized sound was the sound of rock and roll rebellion and youth culture.
Okay, that feels like a really solid explanation for the early stuff. But what about later? Did they ever, relax a bit, let the Scouts come through once they were the biggest band on the planet?
Yeah, they definitely did, as they got more successful, more confident, more
The
experimental.
later, weirder stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The Sgt. Pepper era and beyond. They started caring less about sounding properly American or perfectly neutral pop.
Success gave them freedom.
Totally. And you start hearing hints of Liverpool creeping back in. It's not like they suddenly started singing full scouse, but the edges softened.
Could you give an example? Where might we hear that?
Well, listen to Paul sometimes. On something like Lady Madonna. His pronunciation feels a little more naturally British in places, the way he hits certain vowels.
Okay, I can kind of hear that.
And they also started playing with characters more, using different voices or accents for effect in narrative songs.
Oh, like Rocky Raccoon.
Perfect example. Or even Ringo's singing voice, which always had its own distinct quality. They weren't so rigidly sticking to that idealized American rock voice anymore. They could afford to sound a bit more like themselves or like characters.
Interesting. So they set the pattern, adopt the international sound for breakthrough, then maybe let your own voice peek through later.
And that pattern is still incredibly relevant today, isn't it? It's almost the standard playbook.
You mean for British artists now?
Absolutely. Think about the massive UK stars conquering the global charts right now.
Huh.
Adele, Ed Sheeran, maybe Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
Listen to them speak in an interview. Their London or Yorkshire or whatever accents are totally clear, very British.
Right.
Then they sing. And what happens?
It smooths out again, becomes that global pop voice.
Exactly. It's often still non-erotic enough not to sound jarringly American to British ears,
Okay.
but the vowels are open, clear, not too regionally specific. It's engineered not to cause friction for the huge American market or internationally.
Wow. So the Beatles basically wrote the manual for how to do that.
In many ways, yes. Minimize the linguistic friction, maximize the reach.
Okay, but here's a fascinating twist. It doesn't just flow one way from the UK to sound American, does it?
No, not at all. That's what makes this whole thing so interesting. After the British invasion, when UK music became this huge global force.
We started seeing the reverse happen.
Huh.
American sounding, British.
Precisely. Which begs the question, why would an American band want to sound British?
And the answer is probably similar, just flipped.
Almost identical reasons, yeah. It's about fitting into a certain genre, usually one heavily influenced by British bands, or maybe trying to get some of that perceived UK cool or artistic credibility.
Like tapping into a specific musical legacy, post-punk or something.
Exactly. Post-punk, new wave, Britpop echoes, even classic British rock. Think about a band like The Killers.
From Las Vegas, right.
Yeah.
Very American.
Totally. But listen to Brandon Flowers sing, especially on their earlier stuff. There's often a certain vocal delivery, kind of clipped, maybe elongating certain vowels in a way that feels...
Very British new wave, like
Yeah.
Duran Duran or The Cure.
Yeah, echoes of that. It immediately signals their influences. They're channeling that specific UK sound.
Okay, I get that. What about other examples?
Vampire Weekend is another interesting one.
New York band, right. Preppy indie pop.
Yeah, but Ezra Koenig's vocals sometimes have this slightly mannered, almost transatlantic or vaguely British feel. Again, it points towards their love of British indie, maybe some African music influences too, but that vocal style is part of their sonic identity.
And does it happen in heavier music too?
Definitely. Think about Karen O from the
Yeah.
US. Sometimes her delivery has that detached, cool, slightly British punk or post-punk edge.
Right.
Or even look at a band like Greta Van Fleet.
Ah, the Led Zeppelin comparisons.
Exactly. The singer often goes for those high, wailing vocals, that very specific kind of rock god delivery, pioneered by British frontmen like Robert Plant. An American kid channeling a British icon to sound authentic within that genre.
So whether it's Beatles going American or the Killers going British, It's about joining a club, signaling what tradition your music belongs to.
That's a great way to put it. It's using the voice, the accent, as a musical instrument to signal genre, influence, and context. It's part of this huge ongoing cultural exchange that rock and pop music facilitates.
Yeah, it's less about where you're from and more about what sound you're aiming for.
Exactly. The Beatles needed that American sound to join the rock and roll conversation globally. Later bands needed a British sound to join the post-punk or indie conversation. It's all about context.
So the Beatles' Americanizing wasn't just selling out, it was kind of musically necessary at the time.
I think so. It acknowledged the roots of the music, and ironically, by mastering that sound and taking it worldwide, they then earned the right to bring their own unique flavor back into it later on.
Which leads to this idea of authenticity being really slippery in music.
Totally. What does authentic even mean? For the Beatles early on, it meant sounding like the American source. For a modern band, it might mean sounding like a British genre legacy, even if you're from Arizona.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In today's world, with music being so global and mixed, what is an authentic pop voice anymore?
Maybe that smooth, global, accent-neutral voice is the new authentic sound for mainstream pop. It's a fascinating question for you, the listener, to ponder next time you hear a favorite song.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Whenever you feel like knowing more about the Beatles, visit us at BeatlesRewind.com. Every day we do something new there. Book reviews, song reviews, trivia, all things Beatles. You can find us on the website, BeatlesRewind.com. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, practically anywhere. The Beatles, all day, every day. Cass, we'll do it again tomorrow.
Great. Absolutely. See you then, everyone. Till next time, when you listen it.
Your mind conducts its own symphony.